It is coming through though. See that? You know, we really don't want that in our honey, so. Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather.
And I'm Levi.
And we're doing something in a way that we haven't done in a couple years. We do harvest honey every year, and my butter muslin will catch any stray hairs. But this year we are going to be doing a crush and strain honey harvest. In years past, or at least last year, we used our extractor to spin the honey so that the comb could remain intact and the bees could fill it back up. They have done so, but I really want to be able to melt down some of the wax this year because I like to use it in some of our salves and things. So this is an example of one of the frames of honey. We have 6 that we're doing today, and this one is actually pretty dark. Sometimes this represents fall honey. A lot of times nectar from the fall time produces a really nice dark, kind of nutty flavored honey. But sometimes this can also just represent older wax, and in the rendering process, it clears right up. So I've got my trusty assistant here is going to help me get the wax and honey off of the frame. We're going to strain it through this colander, actually through the butter muslin, through the colander, and down into the pitcher below that does have a pour spout, which is going to help get it into the really fun jars that we found. A lot of times when you run something like cheese through butter muslin, you want to wet it. We want to avoid wetting the cloth because we don't want to add moisture into our honey. The reason that honey lasts a long time is because it has a specific moisture content, and if we have too much moisture, we wind up with alcohol. This looks like the actual honey is dark.
It is very dark.
What's it taste like? Not clover honey?
No, it's really rich.
Yeah. Pretty excited that we have a couple different seasons of honey that we're going to be scraping off individually because we'll be able to select the type of honey that we want with whatever we're doing. Like if I want a nice bright floral honey in my tea, I can select the lighter honey, and if I want to add a nice deep richness to my baking, like the bread that we've been making with honey, I could choose the dark honey. But we are noticing that it hasn't strained down through the butter muslin yet, which doesn't surprise me. This honey is good and thick, so I'm gonna have to give it a squeeze. Once it gets going, it should come through pretty well. There it goes, finally. Goodness, it looks like molasses.
Yeah. That's smart.
That does taste like honey. Some people don't like fall honey. I almost prefer it. You don't find a lot or really any fall honey at the grocery store. A lot of the honey at the grocery store is clover honey, and clover is a spring flower. We could have used the honey extractor to get the honey out of the frames and still scrape the wax off of the frames to harvest that. But my honey extractor needs cleaning, and something I didn't really want to do. Not for only 6 frames. I would have done it for more than 6. Each frame should have about a pint of honey on either side. Some of our frames aren't completely filled with honey, so I'm hoping for about 10 pints worth, which should last our family until we can get some spring honey again from the bees. In there, all that honeycomb crushed up. I'm gonna do what I can to just kind of move the honeycomb and honey around in the filter to help crush that honeycomb and get the honey out, but it's only gonna move as fast as the honey, and this honey is thick. It is coming through though. See that? Wow, it's so dark. It's amazing. So what I'm gonna do is actually move over what's left in this strainer over into here so that I can keep my honeys separate, my fall honey and my spring honey, and we can go ahead and get working on the spring honey. I really want to show you that. Clearly, I am making very sticky messes today, as we do, and these are the really cool jars that I found. I found these on Amazon. They are ball mason jars, so if I wanted to, I could use them for canning, but I am not going to use them for canning. I'm going to use them for honey this year, and probably forever and ever. So pretty.
Yeah, my thinking was once this was done dripping, or mostly done dripping, we would just put the strainer on the plate. That's why I brought the plate over.
Patience is not one of my strong suits at all.
Podcast I was just listening to was talking about I made the mistake of praying for patience when I was younger, and then I got married and had kids.
And forced into it, huh? I kind of want to get my refractometer and see where the moisture is with these, because I feel like
Low.
it's low.
And he said, wait, you have bees? And I told him that we have 2 hives, but
I have 3.
it doesn't make 2. What is it?
15% moisture.
I see.
I don't even remember what you're looking for.
It needs to be under 19. See if I can get this to show up on camera. Can you see that blue line right there? Or it's at 15%. It's hard to do through the camera, but that's how this honey is testing right now. I've seen people use refractometers to test the colostrum quality of their dairy animals. I need to look up how to do that because that's cool too. So I have some of this lighter honey. I'm sure you can see the difference. This stuff I pulled off in springtime when the bees were getting a little bit congested and they needed some more space for the queens to lay. So I was able to pull out some honey and put in some drawn comb so she could lay immediately. And you can see how much lighter this is. Now it's in a bag and I had them in my freezer. There's 4 different frames that we're gonna extract today. Some people tell me, Heather, you don't need to freeze honey. And I know that, but there are some reasons that you may want to freeze your frames. Like in our case, I have seen some small hive beetles in our colonies before, and they will lay their eggs and those eggs hatch. And you know, we really don't want that in our honey. So a good way to kill off any kind of egg or thing that you may not want in your honey is to freeze it for at least 36 hours. And in our case too, we were having some ants inside of our house that were going after the honey, and that was a really good way to keep the ants away as well. I bought these bags specifically for freezing honey. I can't remember where I bought them, but I'm sure you can find them on Amazon. Okay. We'll squeegee that out later.
That wax is so much easier to crush.
Interesting.
Like, way less effort than the other one.
Huh. Ooh, careful. Clearly, spring honey, way more floral. Way more floral. That's crazy. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell by it dripping how much lighter it is, but once we get it in the jars, you'll really be able to tell. I mean, you could tell on the frame too. It's very light. Smush it on the window. This one is at just less than 17%. Can you see how the blue line?
Yeah, it's like 16 or 16 3/4 almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's good.
Don't worry. understand how that works.
I don't understand how it works either. I don't understand how people invent things like this. Like, knowing how something works is one thing, but how did you come up with this and then create it? Like, there's some big brain people out there. It's not me. Isn't that just incredible? This is fall honey here. You can't even see through it. Like, the sun isn't making its way through it. And then this is spring honey. And they taste dramatically different. This genuinely, like, it looks like this here is, you can hear this sticky on my poor table. But this here is the wax that we managed to collect off of 4 of the frames. This honey is still dripping out of the wax from the fall time honey. This is our spoil. So we have almost 4 pints of the fall honey. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 pints of the springtime honey. And it's almost 2 pints more honey than I expected, so that's a win. I'm gonna close this video out right here just so I can let this honey drain, and in the next video, I'll show you how I render the wax. If you'd like to see some of our swarm catches, which are quite magical, I have this playlist up here, and I also have this video where I show you how we harvest honey with our extractor. Also, I'm still waiting for my new felting needle, so we're gonna have a makeup day with the Sheepishly Me advent calendar.